So October has arrived, which means everyone is running for pumpkin spice lattes. But I wanted something a little different. I mean, we're always reaching for pumpkin spiced everything, so I wanted something a little unique. I wanted something a little bit more magical. So I decided for inspiration to look to the Night Circus this year, and I found some of the most incredible food descriptions. For example, they have apples dipped in caramel, so dark. They appear almost blackened, but remain light and crisp and sweet. Chocolate bats with impossibly delicate wings. I also came across a spiced cocoa, and I saw that and I knew that was the drink I needed to make, so I can be sipping on that while I'm doing up my October decorations. That way it's something just a little bit more special. I'm gonna start drinking this because my whipped cream is starting to melt, and I actually over poured the cocoa. So, and I'm about to make a mess. What we're making is this infusion of spices. So I'm wanting to have like the autumn feel, so I'm gonna be adding cinnamon for that nice warming taste. But also the description of the spiced cocoa, they described it as wonderfully warming and slightly painful. So that tells me that there is chili in this, and you need to add just enough so there's a bit of an underlying heat. And then I've also wrapped it off with adding some almond and some vanilla essence, and that way it just completely rounds out the flavors and just makes it really so much more than just like another hot chocolate. And I think we got the balance just right. So to get started, before I pour in the whole 2 cups of full cream milk, I'm actually gonna have us mix together a paste of like a 1/4 cup milk and a teaspoon of corn flour. And we're gonna whisk this together. So to be honest, the reason why we're doing this is because I curdled the milk like 3 times in a row, and I thought, yeah, I'm not gonna do this to you guys, so let's foolproof this as much as we can. So there are other ways of keeping it from curdling. So when you're heating up the milk, you need to make sure you're heating up really slowly. And you always want to keep that temperature low, so you're bringing it to a boil. This seems to be easier said than done. So I found that by taking the pot off the stove, that helped me kind of manage the heat when it seemed like it was just warming up a bit too much. You know, I used a whisk. I don't know how else to describe this, other than it just kind of helped keep like the airflow going through like the milk surface. I did catch a bit of curdling starting, and because I think I saw it straight away, I was able to pour in some cold, more of my cold cream milk into the pot, and I think that just brought the temperature right down, and that kind of stopped the process. So now that we've covered the issue of cream curdling, we can get on with the rest. So basically you're going to pour in the rest of the milk and keep whisking that so that cornstarch paste has blended in through all the rest of the milk. And then we're going to add in 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. So I let this cook for 10 to 15 minutes, just to a point where the liquid was starting to reduce. So now that we've finished cooking that, we are going to add in the spices. So we're going to sift in 1 teaspoon of cinnamon and whisk that. And yes, you really do want to whisk. The last thing you want is any of your spices or any of your powders basically. If you haven't mixed it in well, you do not want to get a mouthful of that when you're trying to have your drink. Then we're going to add in a 1/4 teaspoon of chili and whisk that in as well. You may want to add just maybe half of that, taste test, and then add the rest if you feel you want more. Personally, I found it was just the right amount added to that amount of milk. It's got that right balance of heat, but it's not overpowering. Then you're going to whisk in 3 tablespoons of cocoa powder, but you are going to want to just do this bit by bit. So you whisk in a little bit, tap in a bit more cocoa powder, whisk some more. Finally, to round it all out, I added in a teaspoon of almond essence and a teaspoon of vanilla essence. And then I threw in a pinch of salt because that just brings up and enhances a lot of the flavors. And now you are ready to serve. So if you like your cocoa like really thick, you can serve this straight, but you may want to serve less of this because it is like really rich. Alternatively, you can tone it down by stirring in extra milk or boiling water. But because we've made the batch of cocoa the way we have, you can store this in the fridge and you kind of have a bit of a condensed cocoa mix ready to go for whenever you feel like some cocoa during the week. you're going to finish this off with a cloud of whipped cream on top, and then you're going to dust that ever so slightly with cinnamon to finish it off.